Welcome to a new edition of our GSMA Showcase Live event. In this occasion, we're going to talk about data for device life cycle management. First of all, I would like to thank you for taking the time and effort out of your busy schedule for joining us here today. I am very pleased to welcome representatives from key ecosystem stakeholders. I personally love this topic, think it's very deep and has a lot of edges and players within the value chain. For those who don't know me, I'm Nicholas Forster. I'm Outreach Director here in GSMA Services, and my primary role is to make sure our customers, partners, and members are leveraging the best of our full suite of services we have available to help the mobile industry as a whole. We have a great session today, as I said, which is focusing data for device lifecycle management, the aim of which is help you, your team, your company to get a deep understanding of the whole device lifecycle and how the mobile device data can effectively help managing this aspect. It should also provide an overview on how GSMA's device data is helping businesses make the most of the growing pre-used mobile device market, giving practical solutions and use cases for the challenges it faces around the demand for increased sustainability. We have some great speakers today who are going to present to you and are going to talk around this topic. As a result, we have a consistent and packed agenda with which each session lasting approximately 8 minutes. The first session will be from Tim Hatt, Head of Research and Consulting Strategy in GSMA Intelligence, who is going to talk about sustainability and its impact on the device ecosystem. Then we will have Seth Hain from Prolog Mobile, who is going to talk about safe secondary device trading. After this session, we will have Josh Beasley, who is going to share likewise perspective with regards to mobile device protection. Following with the agenda, we will have Robert Hackle from MCE, talking about the device lifecycle management and how this could help MNOs to improve device activation and service. Last but not least, we'll have Patrick Schneider from PhoneCheck, who is going to talk about certifying data for e-commerce and the device lifecycle. At the end, we will have a Q&A session where we will try to address and answer as many questions as possible. And just to make you aware that this session is recorded and we will be able to share the content afterwards. So with that, I would like to ask you to don't be shy, put all your questions in the right-hand chat, and we will address them at the end. With that, I will just like to hand over to Tim. Tim?
Thank you very much. And great to be here. And thank you all for coming. So, I want to kick things off by talking about sustainability in the telco sector and talk a little bit about what's happening at the networks level and then transition into what that means for the circular economy and devices. So, if we can move to the next slide. Um, Clearly, sustainability is now a management priority across the industry. That certainly wasn't the case sort of 5 years ago. It is now. When we look at commitments to carbon reductions, these are important indicators for commitment levels and how that bears out on networks, services, and devices. We track about 40% of the telco sector market share in terms of subscribers, being covered by operators that have committed to science-based targets, which is a globally recognized framework, as well as on the carbon neutral and other international pathways towards net zero. This is growing. Europe is still, and sort of North America are the two leading regions. And I think where we're expecting momentum to build is to the south and the east, over the coming sort of several years as this gains momentum. We move to the next slide. One thing that's important to bear in mind when we talk, whether we're talking about the circular economy and device recycling, or whether we're talking about energy costs or the whole carbon footprint, This is not a siloed issue. It's very much an interconnected one. And so we think about the telco strategy in this area as a holistic challenge. Um, Data traffic is rising in the 5G era. Energy costs clearly in the wholesale markets have become very volatile in the last 12 to 18 months. Those factors are sort of headwinds. But then when you look at the mitigations, in other words, how to get energy down and more sustainable, it comes down to a bunch of things, whether that's more efficient spectrum in the 5G new radio, a whole bunch of innovations in the network value chain, circularity in devices, retiring old network generations, the sunsets, and then most importantly, moving to renewables. So it's a multifaceted challenge. We can move to the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's useful to show some data points from the horse's mouth, as it were. One of the research studies we're engaged with is tracking network energy efficiency across the industry. We started this last year in year one, and we've now moved into the second year. And what we're looking to do is see the industry's progress on energy efficiency, as well as the pace of transitioning to renewables. And you can see here some of the headline stats from our first year. I don't want to go into any one of them in too much detail, other than to say one of the key sort of things that we need to do as a sector is be able to track progress and have uniform metrics that there's broad consensus for. You can see in renewables, just under half of electricity consumption is driven by renewables. That's much lower in Africa and Asia. Clearly, that needs to move in a higher direction. And you can see energy consumed in parts of the radio network also looking to come down. We see similar patterns in devices, and we'll be looking at that, closely. Go to the next slide. And then the other side of the coin is beyond getting your own house in order to lower carbon emissions there. Of course, there's a role to play in enabling other industries to lower their footprint. Um, Scope 3 emissions haven't really been quantified across the sector, but they're estimated to be the largest share of the carbon footprint at sort of 70 to 80%. We've done some research around how connectivity can help lower emissions in major industries. And these four that we're showing here, manufacturing, power, transport, and buildings, these sectors account for 80% of global CO2. Connectivity and digital technology can help enable 40% of the required CO2 reductions to get to net zero. So a big role to play, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. We can move to the next slide. So then what does this mean in terms of devices? Well, I think the first point to make is that the device sort of value chain is quite complex. What we're showing here is a schematic that was actually released in a report published by our climate action team earlier in a couple of weeks ago, where you can see the interconnectedness, but also the complexity of the value chain. And you go right from the metals extraction to manufacturing, distribution, and then of course the end consumer. That's understandable, but what is increasingly changing is a by design process to orchestrate devices to be circular so that we can increase the rates of recycling and refurbishment. That's a cost story, it's a revenue story, and it's an environmental one, and one that needs coordination across this value chain. We can go to the next slide. And within devices, that then gets to the question of what is the metal makeup and what do we think happens to devices at the end of their life cycle. You can see here that if you kind of tear down a mobile phone or tear it open, various elements for all you chemists out there, various elements in the periodic table sort of come down here, right from copper to gold, palladium, etc. And there is a varied set of scenarios of what happens to this now. But the reality is quite a lot goes to landfill, which is a huge opportunity cost as well as an environmental burden. And what they're trying to get more strategy on, and operators are looking to do more with their device suppliers, is increase the share into these other avenues, particularly in the refurbished and recycled, as well as repair areas where uptake rates are quite low. We can go to the last slide. It's interesting to put data on this. And I think this is a glass half full and a glass half empty story at the same time. What we're showing here is data on the share of mobile phones that actually are recycled. And you can see that even in the most high income markets, here, Europe and the US, it's well under 20%. And so most are either being extended or consigned to landfill or just left around. You can see the rates were even lower in China, which is the single biggest device market. Getting these rates up is a key measure of success as we go through the device repair and refurbishment life cycle. And we're going to be tracking this in line with some of the other moves on the network side that I talked about earlier. So there's a lot of headroom to move into, which is a good thing, but we're looking to see acceleration in this area, and that really does require coordinating across the supply chain. So thanks very much. I think that sets the context. I'm with GSMA Intelligence and can take any questions afterwards, but for now, I will pass to Seth to take us into the next segment.
Right on. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity. Prolog Mobile is the world's leading device intelligence platform, providing unique data synthetics to the global circular economy. Our systems are also integrated into a variety of ERPs, data erasure and diagnostic systems, and even robots supporting customers as varied as OEMs, carriers, processors, and marketplaces. We are 6 years old, venture-backed, and innovating new products out to the market at a rapid clip. We are proud to be one of GSMA's 3 blocklist global resellers. Many of our data insights start with the use of GSMA's platforms. One thing that differentiates us from others in this space is our pure focus on device data and analytics. We don't sell software or buy and sell phones. And our scale. We are carrier grade, production line oriented in our delivery. We support millions of devices and billions of dollars worth of inventory as they gain value through our system. As a co-founder of the company, I'll say that one of the most interesting things about my view is getting to see all the different interesting ways people use our data. We believe that large-scale use of our system can save the mobile device circular economy tens of billions of dollars a year worth of inefficiencies and value entropy. And as also noted, potentially lower the industry's carbon footprint by as much as 60%. There is an arc of value that can be achieved through our system by acquiring devices at better informed pricing, making better decisions through repair and redistribution and back into reuse. We have white papers on our website that show a 23x ROI on the cost of the data to transform these processes, and that equates to hundreds of millions of dollars worth of business improvements for our customers. Slide 2, please. As you can see, our data impacts almost every facet of a carrier's business, from buyback program support and informing that process to make it smoother through operations and the redistribution of these devices. Keep in mind that carriers buy millions of devices a year that they do not want in order to support transitioning that customer over to a device that they do want on their network. Our data helps them better understand these foreign devices, their value, and even how to redeploy them in different marketplaces outside of their group's footprint, so they don't immediately reemerge as competitive devices. We help carriers be more efficient with both internally and externally oriented reverse logistics processes. Ideally, our data arcs across these silos and helps connect them and inform decisioning collectively. That's where the magic of digital transformation happens. Slide 3, please. This speaks to the typical sequential use of our data, from acquisition through reuse and all the points in between. It also speaks to the sophistication of our data as devices move through these processes. GSMA is almost always the starting point for our data, which we then start adding value to through processes such as standardization and incorporating other data into the feed, blending data to create new, unique, and valuable insights. Our data synthetics create value that is unique to you, your enterprise, and your market spaces. Something that makes Prolog Mobile unique is that we serve as the Switzerland of the data world. We are at the center of the wheel, the hub, if you will. We are integrated into the most of the large-scale device erasure and diagnostic systems in the world with an estimated 75% market share. with hundreds of millions of endpoint devices capable of engaging our platform through integrations within these systems. Systems like MCE, who will be speaking shortly about how their platform supports hundreds of millions of devices for carriers all over the world. Our unique ability to create synthetic data creates enormous value for a variety of constituents throughout the circular economy, and it speaks to the speed of innovation in this area. Our RAS, or Repairs as a Service system, helps carriers, processors, 3PLs instantly understand the cost of repairs, so device owners can immediately determine whether they want to invest in the repair of these devices or sell them to somebody else in the reverse supply chain. This also creates enormous value for inventory owners because it helps potential buyers understand these explicit costs and therefore helps dial in objective value for the devices in their current state without discounting for risks that are not present. This creates as much as 20% more value per device. Again, please see our website for the white paper. Our modem carrier device alignment tool helps the industry understand whether modems on specific networks can be successfully, even optimally redeployed on another network. We believe this is a $10 billion a year problem and is substantially more problematic in the Android space than in the Apple sphere. We believe this not only causes RMAs and inactivation rates as high as 25%, but literally causes entire life cycles to be shortened due to the fact that companies do not fully understand the scale of this problem as it impacts the industry globally every day. This is why devices don't reactivate consistently, which drives returns, RMAs, bad customer experiences, and causes devices to bounce around the planet looking for a home. It has a profoundly negative impact on the environment in the process, and again, burns billions of dollars a year in your profits. We'll also be making this available to the industry as an API-driven BYOD compatibility tool to support carriers globally. Do you want that device on your network? Enter an IMEI, instantly know if that device will work on that network, with quantitative and qualitative analytics to connect your team and the customer to an accurate answer within seconds, improving customer service, network quality, and aligning devices to networks far more efficiently. Think of it as BYOD enablement as a service. With the help of GSMA, we have solved this problem and look forward to bringing this forward as a solution to the industry at scale in 2023. Slide 4, please. The main thing I want to get across with this slide is that the fact that use of the Prolog mobile platform typically starts with operations like MCE's erasure and diagnostics device management systems, or Apkudo's systems and processing locations like Likewise's state-of-the-art robot farm in Dallas. The cumulative device data then rolls up into an ERP for decisioning on what to repair, where to redeploy devices, etc. But the large opportunity is to connect device data at acquisition and then convey that data all the way through device redeployment or resale, whether that's B2B or B2C. That's where the vast majority of the ROI is gained or lost. By engaging business units that tend to operate as silos and connecting them via this arc of data, there are billions of dollars worth of benefits available to most companies on this session. And that's where the magic happens. Slide 5, please. Yeah, to summarize, Prolog Mobile is the only company serving the breadth and depth of the circular economy for used mobile devices globally. Our expertise is a direct reflection of our focus. We do not sell software or robots. We don't own screwdrivers or lots of phones. What we do own is the most complete data management platform on the planet, one that is squarely focused on bringing large-scale data transformation to carrier-grade enterprises. We are the only platform to standardize data inputs from over 40 sources and growing. We're the only solution that is focused on production line uptime and bringing this data to the industry that enables better decisioning for everyone. Not siloed approaches that benefit just one aspect of a company or uniquely advantage just one player in the field. Our idea is to elevate the entire industry. As they say, rising tide lifts all ships. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to hand this over to Joshua Beasley, Global Sales Officer of Likewise.
Thank you, Seth. Hi, everybody. As Seth said, I'm Global Sales Officer here at Likewise. We've been around in the mobile industry for 25 years now, formerly known as Brightstar. However, we rebranded to reflect our change in direction as a business, moving away from asset distribution to what is now a fully fledged service operation. So in terms of what we do, I think all of us on this call can acknowledge that technology has totally transformed the way that we live, the way that we manage our social life, our working life, our banking, our health, our well-being. All of that is controlled by mobile devices. So I think to call them a dependency to humans nowadays is actually quite an understatement. And what we've seen over the years is that many of the services associated with mobile remain quite antiquated. Therefore, we're investing to develop solutions which are befitting of the technology that we're now using, which is very much state of the art. We know that consumers demand continuous connectivity, and having a service network that enables that to happen is simply mission critical. Our mission here as a business is to make all tech problems painless, and by providing consumers with optionality, when something does go wrong, to resolve it in the way which is most fitting to them. Next slide, please. So across our portfolio of solutions, there are 4 primary work streams, which all sit hand in hand. And I'll start here with support. Tech support is a massively underutilized tool in the space that we operate in. And that is because a lot of the solutions that are out there to guide people through troubleshooting or to guide installation and unboxing are simply insufficient. We have a solution which supports more than 5,000 products covering mobile, and all sorts of other connected devices such as laptops, smart TVs, smartwatches, connected doorbells, Alexas, you name it. We have guided troubleshooters and know-how guides which show consumers how to do something. Many of the problems that people class as being a problem are not actually a problem. It's a user who needs to be shown how to do something. So we've invested millions of dollars in building state-of-the-art capabilities that show people how to do that. However, for those issues that can't be resolved with tech support, we transition into device protection, where we've invested in state-of-the-art technology to enable people to file claims in as little as 1 click. Now, I don't know if anyone on the call is familiar with the insurance industry, but it's typically quite an old-fashioned industry that operates very slowly, on pen and paper, and we're looking to change all of that. We're looking to make the claim experience seamless for the customer so that that period of interruption they're experiencing is always kept to a minimum. That transitions nicely into repair. And a couple of years ago, we acquired a company in the UK called WeFix, which provides a We Come To You on-demand service network for mobile devices, enabling people to call out a repair technician to their location according to a time that suits them to repair their device and get them back up and running. Now, in some cases, repair might not be the best outcome or the desired outcome for the consumer. So as opposed to pushing people down a repair channel, we want to offer them the ability to upgrade. Now, in terms of what we do in Upgrade as a business, we handle around 6 million devices a year that come back to us via our trade-in programs. And we want to convert as many people as possible onto the right hardware according to their need. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of how we do that, there's obviously a lot of complexity in making sure that this runs smoothly. So we're heavily reliant on the data that we collect up front to tell us what device the consumer is using and everything about it, what the consumer profile looks like, where they are, how are they accessing the service, what is it they're looking for, and what solutions can we offer to them. Now, in terms of what we do with GSMA, I don't know if everybody on the call again is familiar with GSMA TAC reports, but they tell you everything you need to know about a device. And that goes way beyond a make and model. We're talking, where is the device compatible? What's the device ID? What operating system does it work on? Is it running on the latest software? All of this is critically important to us when we're addressing a customer. And we take all of this information in real time on demand to direct the customer into various options. And again, the key thing that we do is give consumer freedom of choice every step of the way. We're not just going to force somebody into a repair channel. We'll give them the optionality of an upgrade, a repair, a device exchange. Everything we can do to make this customer experience as seamless as possible, we do. And our reliance on data and the information that the likes of GSMA and Prolog provide to us is vital in doing that. Next slide, please. So why are we doing it? I've alluded to this throughout the presentation, but we are dependent on smartphones, and to have more than 4 billion independent smartphone users globally tells us just how dependent we are. Every year since 2014, we've sold over 1.2 billion new products. Now, on one hand, you might say phenomenal. On the other hand, you look at this and you go, well, what's happening to all the devices that we're decommissioning every year? a terribly inefficient process, and we're throwing away tens of billions of dollars in hardware, which is still very much useful in today's world. The price of new hardware is going up and up. We're at 490% of where we were 20 years ago. And the average person is spending more time on the phone than, quite frankly, anything else. And again, when I come back to dependency, you can see it from some of the data points we have on this slide. Residual values on older hardware is also going up. So again, when we talk about discarding product, is there a real need to discard it? What is the residual value? What else can it be used for? And again, people are holding on to technology for longer. So that tells you that with the cost of new hardware ever increasing and with residual values increasing accordingly, people are trying to get more usage from the product, but we can go way beyond the 3.2-year average that we're seeing today. Next slide, please. We know that smartphones are a human dependency, but breakage is also somewhat of an inevitability. We're seeing products breaking every single day, and the rate at which they break is quite phenomenal. It's 95 million smartphones every year in the US alone that encounter some form of damage. So we have to have solutions like we deliver as Likewise being made readily available for consumers to access them. Because ultimately, if a phone breaks, you need it fixing there and then. It's no good having a solution, that caters to your needs 5 days down the line. And again, another compelling stat we have here is that 72% of people own a broken smartphone. Why is that? Is it because people can't access repair solutions? Is it because they can't afford them? What is it? We're really trying to crack that niche so that we can break into that segment and add value to those broken devices. Next slide, please. And on the back end of device disposal, as Seth was saying, we are woefully inefficient. We are throwing devices away, we're putting them in a drawer, we're not making use of them. And quite a compelling stat on this is the fact that iPhone 8s, which were released 5 years ago now, are fully compatible on iOS 16. So a lot of the older hardware is still perfectly software capable in today's world. So we have to do more as a collective to make sure we're driving more devices into a resale channel, a traded channel, or a recycling channel to extract as much value from the product from day-to-day usage down to raw materials. And that's what we're enabling as Likewise. So I've talked for 8 minutes flat out. I'll leave it there. And at this point, I'm handing over to Robert Hackle, who's president of MCE Systems.
Thank you so much, Josh. It's a pleasure being here. Let's get started. Next slide. So MCE stands for Mobilizing Customer Experiences. And we mobilize customer experiences for device-related issues. So device lifecycle management is our core business. We're doing that for 400 million devices, 80 customers and partners, and have been around for the block for more than 17 years. Next slide, please. For people who are dealing with device lifecycle management, they know this is quite a difficult topic because there are 6.7 billion smartphones worldwide, so everybody does device lifecycle management. When solutions have grown organically across the channels for different parts of the supply chain, for different parts of the customer cycle, and they're not connected. So today's reality is that it takes 4 days or 2.1 attempts to complete the customer journey. And a lot of those are device lifecycle related or device related. And for every additional day the journey takes, the customer satisfaction goes down by more than 30%. So this is really bad. And there's more than 30% of customer journeys which actually require 2 live interactions. So it's not easy, and it's not easy to fix because you also have different owners across those areas. Next slide, please. Now let's go to the secondary device market. We did actually a market research of 15,000 customers worldwide in that segment, which revealed that there's 3 big issues for customers. First, there is a lot of friction. A lot of customers, like more than half, expect that they have to go to a retail store, is how they understand it. 42%. For 42%, it takes more than half an hour to complete just the trading process without the upgrade, and 95% actually taking more than 5 minutes. So that's the friction. There's also uncertainty about the value of the device. So 1 out of 3 customers for 1 out of 3 customers, the price was actually changed after the phone was inspected. And that leads to trust issues of customers. Every second customer calls once, 24% call multiple times, 18% file a complaint, and 9% eventually switch carriers. As we see, there's only 15% of trade-ins on new smartphones in the US concurrently. So there's a big, big upside. So if that kind of process continues, operators will feel it. But the question is, what is the underlying reason or the reasons? There's 3 of those. First, we haven't really put the intelligence where it belongs, where the transaction takes place, so lack of remote intelligence. Nothing is connected. As you can see here, when you start at home, you go to retail store or customer care, you have to repeat it again. And when you have to repeat it again, whatever you did, nobody really knows. Next slide, please. So what we do is we believe our customers deserve better. We put the intelligence where it belongs to solve the problems immediately, and we connect all those journeys to be omni-channel ready from day one. Of course, we are digital first, but we want to be connected, and we want to know what the customer did before. With that approach, we remove bias, inconsistency, and waste. Why is this important? We have a lot of customers who know if they do device lifecycle management right, the EBITDA impact is large, 3 to 5%. Customer satisfaction also has a huge uplift because you solve things right away of 20% NPS across the board. And of course, sustainability, which has been a big topic here, already discussed. And if you do this right, you also really have a competitive advantage. Let's have a look of how would that look like for our trade-in journey. Let's go to the next slide, please. What we do, we take out kind of the friction and have 3 minutes invested and you're done with your remote app. Our remote app is so precise in assessing the value of a device through an artificially intelligence-based remote cosmetic scan that we can actually guarantee a price. You can also start, stop, and resume anywhere. We remember what you did before. And of course, customers don't really come to just trade in a phone. They also want to be taken care of to transfer the data and wipe their old phone securely. We also tested that concept. Of course, it's live with a lot of customers. 75% of the customers said they are more likely to want to use this concept than what they used before. Please show the video shortly and explain a little bit the journey with such a remote app. So first of all, we want to make sure it's the right phone. This works both for customers and non-customers. So for example, Vodafone Group here, Vodafone UK uses this and had a lot of net adds gains. We're also using it for non-customers. What you see here after security checks to ensure that the phone is actually your phone. We do a couple of tests of the screen where you see burned in topics, you also see other things. And in combination with the reaction test of the screen, which you see here, you can like chase. We do then a remote screen test where you take a picture of the screen, which in combination with those other things gives you this 98% accuracy of assessing a phone. And then there's a couple of validating questions. Is it a very engaging thing? Customers love it. And with just 3 minutes, they avoid all the downstream headache. Like in the US, 1 out of 3 customers still has a different credit than the estimate they had originally before. And of course, there's all functional tests. We have so many tests, we can adjust it to the operator's desire of what they believe is necessary for their downstream operations, so that the grade they receive downstream is actually the grade we graded in the hands of the consumer or the frontline. Next slide. And of course, we love our partner GSMA for also using the data there for blacklisted devices and also the tech database. We enrich with GSMA also the automatic recognition of the device through an IMEI check. Next, please. And I think I'm a little ahead of my time, but that's good. We can do so many things together. Trade-in is just one example, and it can be set up very quickly. We meet you where you are. We have some customers where we design end-to-end the entire digital transformation together, but we also recognize a lot of customers have the digital transformation program already running. So what we do is we just help them with one of their high priority journeys. It can be device trade-in, what we talked about. It can be onboarding, what we believe is a super important journey to help customers in retail transfer content much faster and securely wipe the device. But device care is also really up and coming because devices become more and more complicated, and we want to make sure that a consumer in his or her hands has a seamless service to really solve problems on their own. And if they need somebody, that they don't have to repeat things. Thank you very much for your time. I will hand over to PhoneCheck.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again. Thank you, Robert. So I'm Patrick with PhoneCheck. And if you haven't heard of PhoneCheck before, at our core, PhoneCheck is a company dedicated to certifying the functionality and condition of used devices. So our goal is to bring transparency to the buyers and sellers of devices and different stakeholders that participate in the used device lifecycle. To put it really simply, we're like the Carfax, but for mobile devices like smartphones, tablets, and smartwatches. Next slide, please. So we have a variety of customers in the industry, from refurbishers, B2B resellers, insurance, wholesalers, OEMs, and even marketplaces themselves. And these customers use the PhoneCheck 80-point test to provide certifications and accurately diagnose issues with phones and accurately value a device. Using a PhoneCheck certification helps increase buyer confidence when selling a device, and just more generally transact in full transparency when dealing with a used device. So this slide shows our primary way this certification is shared. This is our device history report. It's really our kind of simple consumer-facing summary and result of the certification process. So after a user completes a PhoneCheck diagnostics test, it's a pretty quick test, about a minute long, 80 points, covers all different components of a device, several of which are IMEI based, backed by the GSMA device check data. This device history report is generated. So this ties each device to a unique, easy to understand, consumer-friendly certification. It even has a QR code that can be scanned by the customer, either digitally or when the paper's printed, to verify the results of that certification through our website, and just bring some additional third-party trust to the process when buying or selling. Next slide, please. And so as PhoneCheck has evolved, we've expanded from just like a warehouse or like storefront setting and a desktop-based solution, moving really up the device cycle chain to the consumer themselves. So part of that evolution is our PhoneCheck consumer app. So this remote app is a perfect solution for companies with trade-in or buyback programs that operate online. It's a self-guided app that streamlines the trade-in process. You receive the data to your PhoneCheck cloud in real time as the consumer completes the test and uploads the photos of the phone. All of this is fully integrated into that same cloud as you've used before. The goal here is really to pre-test the device before it's sent in, remove any of the kind of the price change that might happen once you inspect it in person, provide a more an accurate value assessment of the phone earlier to the customer, which we've seen increases the likelihood of trading that device in. And then still providing the same consistent, objective, automated testing used in PhoneCheck Pro, which is our desktop-based solution. And next slide, please. And lastly, in moving the other direction in the used device value chain, PhoneCheck now offers a fully automated robotic solution for use in major processing environments. So this is a fully automated process that covers not only diagnostics and not only erasure, but also adds a whole new dimension of objective cosmetic grading. And there's a question here from the chat. Does the consumer app access IMEI for iOS and Android? Yes, it does. It does. Thank you. So for robotics, we use the same tests for diagnostics that our customers already trust. We use the same IMEI tests backed by some GSMA data that our customers already trust to confirm the status of the device. And now we use the same, respected and certified erasure tools that our customers already trust, but adding the whole new dimension of analysis around the physical condition of the device. So how that really works is it's a robotic the arm. We move it through a series of diagnostics tests, and at the same time, we're collecting dozens and dozens of microscopic resolution images from every surface of the device, the screen, the back, all the different sides and rounded corners, automatically detecting the type of defect, the severity of defect, counting and grading those defects, and surmising them into your cosmetic grade along with the diagnostics grade. So this is precision cosmetics grading. It removes any subjectivity from the cosmetic grading process. It removes any kind of fatigue that a grader normally has during the grading process throughout the day, and delivers consistent results based on your exact specification. And those specifications can even be tuned to different marketplaces depending on if you're going to sell this phone on your own storefront, on Amazon, on eBay, on back market, on Swappa. All of these have different consistent or different cosmetic grading requirements, and we can tune the machine to output based on those. So yeah, this transformation brings obviously speed, doing the work of like 5 to 8 typical testers in a small footprint of about 6 by 6 by 7 feet. And it brings objectivity and more transparency to the used device marketplace. Yeah, and with that, if there's any questions, I'll take them in the chat. But yeah, our goal at PhoneCheck is to protect sellers and add value through transparency. And these are the ways we're doing that. The question from the chat is, how is PhoneCheck working with eBay and other platforms to provide trust in these online platforms, some of which have been vulnerable to questionable transactions? Yeah, we actually are a preferred partner with eBay, preferred partner with Backmarket and Swappa as well. We have basically a live data connection. If the seller is open to sharing their data with eBay or with these other marketplaces, they have a connection to see the PhoneCheck certifications automatically, bring these certifications to show on their listings, and then provide some almost like automatic IMEI policing when a device is sold. So yeah, thank you for your time, and I'll pass it back over to Nico.
Thank you. Thanks to all the speakers for such an amazing presentations. And especially thanks to the audience for taking your time and effort to join us here today out of your busy schedule. So what I would like to do now is to take this last minutes for any question that people may have. For anyone that is still online, let us know if you have any question. I think I have some. I'm going to read it from the chat. Just a minute. So I think the first one is for you, Tim. What are your recommendations to improve for operators, OEMs, to ensure circularity?
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of in there. I mean, I think most of it comes down to being able to define the design life cycle that is needed for circular devices. Secondly, I think there's a point on coordination for logistics to make sure that you cover off not only the manufacturing but the transportation of units through to their distribution points. And then I think there's also a point on joint reporting on progress, and that comes through Scope 3 emissions, as well as metrics like the share of recycled devices, trade-in as a share of handset volumes, and others. So there's lots to do, but a lot of it involves sort of joining forces rather than working
Great, thank you. I think I have one more. Once end of life is reached and parts are extracted, what is typically done with the remaining materials? Trash versus further materials refining. Any statistics?
Well, the majority has been either left dormant or consigned to landfill. Um, as I say, recycling rates have reached around 10 to 15% in the European markets and North America. Um, but that's still a minority. So really, the metal extraction and being able to refurbish devices is a nascent but growing part of the industry. We don't have stats on exactly how big that is, but I think we should expect to see more on that next 12 months even.
Great, thank you very much. Third one for you. How much does device data cost? How do you make a business decision as to how much to spend on verifying devices?
Yes, our
Yeah, go ahead.
typical interrogation of a device and providing data, it's sort of a la carte. People have different questions about the devices. So as I said in my presentation, there's a sequential use of the data. You can stack tests on top of one another. So you can do something really basic or something quite sequential, 7 or 8 checks. It can even be organized into a consolidated check and ordered once, but it still intelligently does the sequence. That data typically costs 15 to 25 cents, maybe as much as 50 cents a phone if you're really de-risking it. Again, our statistics on this are a 23x return on that investment. So if you're into a phone for 15 cents, our white papers indicate that you're going to make another $13 on that phone. But it is entirely at the pace of the customer, meeting them where they are in their current operations and understanding of data, and then evolving it over the arc.
Great, thank you. And what extra value do you provide that is not already available if working with OEMs and obtaining data directly through their buyback programs?
So the main value we bring, again, is helping people develop synthetic data. So we take, for example, like a great example of this is the modem carrier tool that we'll be working on, is taking GSMA baseline data and then adding synthetic data where the customer provides their unique data, we blend that together, we standardize that, and then you have unique new data. That is the most powerful form of data there is because it is your data the way you want it and need it queued up for you to be able to improve your decisioning.
Great, thank you. I have one for Josh. What are the challenges or pitfalls in trying to deliver just-in-time service on mobile devices?
Yeah, I'm going to give what is a very simple answer to a very complex solution. So knowing what you're dealing with is the biggest challenge. Knowing what device you're addressing, who the customer is, where they're located, what challenge they're experiencing, and the optimal way to get service to them. So we're reliant on remote services to tell us exactly what device we're dealing with as a starting point. And you'd be amazed if you go back 3 years ago to trade-in programs, for example, which didn't use upfront diagnostics and things like that, how many devices we would get back where a customer would say, I'm sending you an iPhone 8, and they'd really be sending you an iPhone 6. There is still a huge knowledge gap there. So what we're trying to address, which is a huge problem to us, is taking away subjectivity from that process. It's using technology like GSMA TAC reports to tell us exactly what's going on with that device. So where is it? What network is it on? What operating system is it using? So we can then deliver service, which is in conjunction with that. Because as soon as you start asking a consumer to describe their device to you, the situation they're facing and everything else, you get a very subjective view from somebody who might not be in a technical position to advise on what's really going on. So making sure we can collect as much factual information in real time is critical to the success of just-in-time service delivery.
Great, thank you. And the other question I see in the chat is, What data does Likewise use from the GSMA?
So it's all about device information and discovering whether a product is eligible for a service. So loss and theft checks being an example, and also the TAC reports. So discovering the device type, the device identification, the hardware information, the operating system which the device is using, which network is it using, and the different bands within the phone. Now that last point I just mentioned around bands is critical for the trading operation. And it's something that Seth and I talk about quite regularly because devices are fitted with different bands, as many of us know, or may not know. And those bands work on certain networks, but not on every network. So when we're looking to remarket used devices, it's critical that we place those devices in a market or with a carrier where those devices are going to work. And again, you'd be amazed about the number of instances where devices are sent to a market or sent to an end consumer in the worst case. They take out a used device and they can't use it because it's not compatible with their network. And that is something that actively drives people away from buying refurbished product, which is something that we're all trying to mitigate in this forum. So understanding that information and getting the insights from GSMA and the TAC reports you provide is mission critical to what we do.
Great, thank. One for Robert. Can MC customize its software to diagnose data transfer and wipe, but not provide a trading value?
Yes.
Okay, and one additional question from me. What is holding operators back in making the transition to digital device management?
I think there's three big issues, and that's why it's partly so hard for operators to actually act on the opportunity. First of all, when they hear, hey, there's a new IT solution, they're just like concerned, right? The second issue is when they hear new IT solution or new digital solution is what's the paybacks, and the third is how do I align all the people. And so what we do is, and how MCE works, is that our platform solution is so flexible that we have so much integration experience that we can actually enhance any legacy system. We act like a glue, and you can actually start with a little journey, for example, a diagnostic app, and have paybacks of 3 to 6 months. So very quick paybacks. And we also have so much knowledge about the industry with customer surveys and also how to calculate business cases. So what we do with customers at executive levels, we mobilize a vision of how to use the technology with top use cases. Then we mobilize the people to get behind it, and then we mobilize the technology integration.
Thank you, Robert. One for Patrick. How is PhoneCheck working with eBay and other platforms to provide trust in these online platforms, some of which some of which has been vulnerable to questionable transactions?
Yeah, as I mentioned kind of briefly during my presentation, we have a partnership with eBay, a partnership with the Back Market, a partnership with Swappa, the major marketplaces, and they have a live connection to our data that a customer can turn on or off. And they use that connection to automatically verify the condition of the device at the time of sale based on the IMEI. And then we're working now on adding essentially a way to deliver images from the robotic solution directly to them to prove the cosmetic condition of a device as well. So have an objective cosmetic grade along with the actual photos of the device available for them if any consumers have a complaint about how the condition the device arrives in.
Great. Thank you very much. I think we are running out of time, so just a couple final comments from me. Some housekeeping messages, actually. Please remind that we will share the video and content online afterwards. We will let you know when these are available online by email. Also remind that you can watch our previous showcase live series at our website gsma.com/services/showcase. We will continue the Showcase Live series in 2023, and we will be adding new sessions for this 2023 year towards the end of the year. Of course, we will let you know. With all those housekeeping messages done, I will finally like to thank you. Hope you found all these presentations of interest and valuable. As we said, the GSMA Showcase Live sessions are a series of webinars that we are doing to try to help you and your organization around the mobile industry hottest topics and the different solutions that we provide at GSMA Services. So with that, thanks again. Have a great day and hopefully speak to you soon. Thank you. Bye.